The stagecoach lurched to a stop in front of the dusty ranch house, and Clara Henderson stepped down into the blazing Arizona sun with nothing but a worn carpetbag and a contract promising her $20 a month to teach letters and numbers to children who had never seen the inside of a schoolhouse. The year was 1876, and Castle Dome sprawled before her like a mirage, all sun-bleached wood and desperate hope. A silver mining town that had seen better days but still clung to life in the unforgiving desert. She was 22 years old, fresh from a teaching college in Boston, and utterly unprepared for what awaited her at the Double D Ranch. The ranch foreman, a grizzled man named Pete who smelled of leather and tobacco, helped her with her trunk. "Miss Henderson, welcome to the Double D." Mr. Dalton passed 2 months back, God rest his soul. His brother Samuel runs the place now, him and the 5 young ones. He gestured toward the house where curtains twitched in windows. "They need you something fierce, miss. Them children been running wild since their ma died birthing the youngest, and their pa, well, he tried his best before the consumption took him." Clara's heart squeezed tight in her chest. 5 orphans. The advertisement had mentioned children needing education, but this was something else entirely. "How old are they?" "Little Emmett's just turned 4. Then there's Daisy at 6, the twins Jacob and Joseph at 8, and Mary at 10. Samuel, he does his best, but a cowboy ain't exactly suited for raising babies." Pete shook his head, lips pressed thin. "He hired 3 housekeepers since spring. None of them lasted more than a week." Before Clara could respond, the front door burst open, and children spilled out like water from a broken dam. They were filthy, dressed in clothes that might have fit them 6 months ago, faces smudged with dirt and something that looked suspiciously like jam. The little one, Emmett, wore no shoes at all, his feet black with grime. "Are you the new teacher?" The eldest girl, Mary, stood with hands on her hips, her dark hair a tangled mass around her thin face. "The last one left crying, said we were devil spawn. Mary Dalton, you watch your tongue." The voice came from behind the children, deep and rough as gravel. A man emerged from the house, and Clara felt something shift in her chest. He was tall, well over 6 feet, with broad shoulders that filled the doorway. Dust covered his dark trousers and the blue shirt that stretched across his chest. His face was sun-bronzed and angular, with eyes the color of sage that held a weariness no young man should carry. He could not have been more than 28, but he moved like someone who had lived several lifetimes. "I apologize, Miss Henderson. The children have forgotten their manners along with most everything else." Samuel Dalton removed his hat, revealing dark hair that curled slightly at his collar. He had not shaved in a few days, the stubble shadowing his jaw, and there were lines around his eyes from squinting into the sun. But it was his hands Clara noticed most, work-roughened and scarred, the hands of a man who knew hard labor intimately. "Mr. Dalton." Clara straightened her spine, pushing aside the unexpected flutter in her stomach. She had not come all this way to act like a silly schoolgirl. "I am here to teach. If you will show me where I might set up a classroom, we can begin tomorrow morning." Something flickered across Samuel's face, surprise perhaps, or relief. "Pete can show you to your room. It is not much, but it is clean and has a good bed. As for teaching, miss, I am afraid these children need more than letters right now. They need someone to make them mind, to get them fed and washed and into bed at decent hours. The teaching can come after." Clara looked at the 5 pairs of eyes watching her, some defiant, some curious, little Emmett's filled with something that looked like desperate hope. Her contract said nothing about being a nursemaid or housekeeper. But then again, her contract had said nothing about orphans either, about children who had lost both parents and were being raised by an uncle who looked like he was drowning on dry land. "Then we shall start with the basics," she said, setting down her carpetbag with deliberate care. "Children line up by age, oldest to youngest. We are going to assess the situation properly." For a moment, nobody moved. Then Mary stepped forward, pulling little Emmett by the hand. The twins shuffled into place, and Daisy, the 6-year-old with enormous brown eyes, took her spot in line. They stood there, this ragtag group of wild children, waiting to see what this proper Boston lady would do. Clara walked down the line slowly, examining each child with a teacher's practiced eye. They all needed baths desperately. Mary's dress had a torn hem and stains Clara chose not to identify. The twins wore matching shirts that might have been white once but were now a disturbing gray. Daisy's braids had come half undone, and Emmett, poor little Emmett, looked like he had been rolling in the barn. "Very well. Mary, you are in charge of heating water for baths. The twins will help you carry the buckets. Daisy, you shall find clean clothes for everyone, even if we must raid your uncle's drawers for spare shirts. Emmett, you come with me." She turned to Samuel, who stood watching with his mouth slightly open. "Mr. Dalton, I will need soap, clean towels, and a large tub brought to the house." "I assume you have such things." "We do, but excellent. Also, I will need to know what supplies you have for meals. These children look half-starved." Samuel ran a hand through his hair, and Clara noticed how it made his shirt pull tight across his chest. She firmly redirected her gaze to his face. "There's salt pork, beans, some flour. I am not much of a cook, Miss Henderson. Mostly we have been eating what I can throw together, which is not much." "Cannot," Clara corrected automatically. "You cannot cook much." Double negatives are improper English. She immediately regretted it when she saw his jaw tighten. "I apologize. Professional habit. If you will help the children with the bath preparations, I shall take inventory of the kitchen and prepare supper. You are going to cook." Mary's voice was sharp with disbelief. "The last teacher said cooking was beneath her station." "Then the last teacher was a fool." Clara bent down so she was eye level with the girl. "There is no shame in honest work, Mary. Teaching, cooking, cleaning, they are all ways we care for those who depend on us. Now let us get started. We have much to do before nightfall." What followed was controlled chaos. The children, perhaps shocked into obedience by Clara's no-nonsense manner, actually did as they were told. Samuel and Pete hauled water and filled the large tin tub in the kitchen. Clara discovered the pantry was better stocked than Samuel had admitted, with jars of preserved vegetables, dried herbs, and even some precious coffee. She set about making a proper stew, something that would stick to their ribs and remind them what a real meal tasted like. The baths were an ordeal. Emmett screamed like she was murdering him, splashing water everywhere. The twins had to be threatened with no supper before they would scrub behind their ears. But Mary, once she was actually in the warm water, went very quiet. Clara washed the girl's hair gently, working out the tangles with patient fingers, and saw tears mixing with the bathwater. "It has been very hard, has it not?" Clara said softly. Mary's thin shoulders shook. "I tried to take care of them like Mama would have wanted. But I do not know how to cook proper, and Emmett keeps having nightmares, and the twins will not listen to me, and Uncle Samuel is always working, and I just want my Mama." The last words came out in a broken sob. Clara pulled the girl close, heedless of the water soaking her own dress. "Oh, sweetheart, you have been so brave, but you are just a little girl yourself. You should not have to carry such weight." She stroked Mary's wet hair, her heart breaking for these children. "But I am here now, and I promise you things are going to get better." By the time all 5 children were clean and dressed in the least ragged clothes Clara could find, the sun was setting and the stew was ready. She had also made biscuits, which came out only slightly burned on the bottom. The children gathered around the rough-hewn table, their damp hair curling around their scrubbed faces, and Clara felt something fierce and protective surge in her chest. Samuel came in from settling the horses, stopping short when he saw the transformation. "I will be damned," he breathed. "Language, Mr. Dalton. There are children present." But Clara softened the rebuke with a small smile. "Please wash up and join us." Supper was a revelation. The children ate like they had been starving, which perhaps they had been. Clara watched them carefully, noting who needed more food, who ate too fast, who pushed vegetables around their plate. She served Samuel a generous portion and caught him watching her with an expression she could not quite read. "This is real good, Miss Henderson," he said, his voice gruff. "I cannot remember the last time we had a meal like this. It is just stew, Mr. Dalton, nothing fancy. Maybe so, but it is made with care. That makes all the difference." His eyes met hers across the table, and Clara felt that flutter again, stronger this time. After supper, she organized the cleanup with military precision. Mary and Daisy washed dishes while the twins dried. Samuel took Emmett to get him ready for bed, and Clara heard the little boy's laughter echoing from upstairs, a sound that made her smile. When the kitchen was clean, she gathered the children in the front room. "Now then, before bed, I think we should practice our letters. Mary, can you write your name?" The girl shook her head, shame coloring her cheeks. "Pa was going to teach us, but then he got sick." "Well, there is no time like the present." Clara found some paper and a pencil in her bag. "We shall start simply. Every night before bed we will practice one letter. Tonight we begin with the letter M for Mary." She showed them how to form the letter, and soon all 5 children were bent over scraps of paper, tongues poking out in concentration as they copied her example. Even little Emmett made scribbles he insisted were the letter M. Samuel stood in the doorway, watching, and when Clara glanced up, she caught such raw hope in his expression that it stole her breath. Getting the children to bed was another battle. They all slept in 2 rooms upstairs, the boys in one and the girls in another, their pallets spread on the floor because there were not enough beds. Clara made a mental note to discuss this with Samuel. Children needed proper beds, proper rest. She tucked each one in, listening to their prayers, smoothing their hair back from their foreheads. Emmett clung to her hand. "Are you going to leave like the others?" His voice was tiny, fearful. Clara knelt beside his pallet, her skirt pooling around her. "No, sweetheart, I am not going anywhere. I promise." "That is what the others said too." "Yes, but I am different. I do not break my promises." She kissed his forehead, breathing in the clean smell of his soap-washed skin. "Now close your eyes and dream of something wonderful." When she finally came back downstairs, exhausted and damp from bath water, she found Samuel sitting at the table with 2 cups of coffee. He pushed one toward her. "You did not have to stay," he said. "After seeing what you were getting into, I would not have blamed you if you had taken the next stage back to town." Clara wrapped her hands around the warm cup, savoring the bitter smell. "Mr. Dalton, those children have lost enough people in their short lives. I will not add myself to that list." She met his eyes steadily. "Besides, I came here to teach, and teach I shall, though I admit the job is somewhat different than I anticipated." A smile tugged at the corner of his mouth, the first real smile she had seen from him. It transformed his face, softening the hard lines, bringing warmth to those sage-colored eyes. "You have a gift with them. In one evening, you have accomplished what I could not manage in 2 months. You are trying to do everything alone. No one can manage that indefinitely." She sipped her coffee, studying him over the rim. "Tell me about your brother, about their parents." Samuel's face shuddered slightly, but he began to speak. "David was 5 years older than me. He met Sarah when she came west with her family in '68. She was beautiful, brave, full of life. They built this ranch together, raised those kids with more love than I have ever seen. David was going to make this place into something special, best cattle ranch in southern Arizona." His voice roughened. "Then Sarah died, bringing Emmett into the world." David tried to carry on, but something broke in him. He kept working, kept trying, but the consumption got into his lungs. "By the time we realized how bad it was too late. And you stepped in to care for his children. They are my blood. What else could I do?" He stared into his coffee cup. "But I am a cowboy, Miss Henderson. I know horses and cattle and how to fix a fence. I do not know anything about raising kids, especially not little ones who have nightmares and need their mama." "They need you," Clara said firmly. "You are all they have left of their father, but you cannot do it alone, Mr. Dalton. No one could." "Samuel," he said suddenly, "if you are going to be living here, helping with the children, you should call me Samuel. Only if you call me Clara." She held out her hand across the table, a formal gesture that felt strangely intimate in the lamp-lit kitchen. His hand enveloped hers, rough and warm and strong. "Clara," he said, testing the name. "It suits you." They sat there for a moment, hands clasped across the table, and Clara felt the first stirrings of something she had not expected to find in the Arizona desert. But she was sensible, practical, and she firmly pushed those feelings aside. She was here for the children, nothing more. The days that followed fell into a rhythm. Clara rose before dawn to prepare breakfast, something the children had rarely eaten before her arrival. Oatmeal with precious sugar, flapjacks when she could manage it, always something hot and filling. After breakfast, they began lessons. She set up a classroom in the front room, using slate boards Samuel brought from town and books from her own collection. The children were hungry for learning, once they understood she was not going anywhere. Mary proved quick with her letters, reading simple words within the first week. The twins were better with numbers, able to add and subtract with impressive speed. Daisy loved to draw, filling her slate with pictures of horses and flowers. And Emmett, sweet little Emmett, followed Clara everywhere like a duckling, absorbing everything she taught through simple observation. But teaching was only part of Clara's days. There were meals to cook, clothes to mend, floors to sweep. The house had fallen into such disrepair that Clara spent hours simply restoring order. She made curtains from old sheets, planted an herb garden near the kitchen door, organized the pantry until she could find things without searching. It was exhausting work, but satisfying in a way her teaching position in Boston had never been. Samuel watched her transformation of his household with something like awe. He would come in from the range to find fresh bread cooling on the counter, children bent over their lessons instead of running wild, the house filled with the smell of cooking and the sound of laughter. He began to time his work so he could be present for supper, sitting at the head of the table while Clara served food and listened to the children chatter about their day. "Uncle Samuel, I can write my whole name now," Mary announced one evening, her face glowing with pride. "Miss Clara says my penmanship is excellent." "That is wonderful, sweetheart." Samuel took the paper she thrust at him, examining the careful letters. "Your pa would be so proud." The light dimmed slightly in Mary's eyes at the mention of her father, but she smiled. "Miss Clara says education is the key to making something of yourself. She says even girls can learn to read and write and do arithmetic, not just boys. Miss Clara is a very wise woman." Samuel's eyes found Clara's across the table, and she felt heat rise in her cheeks. She is teaching us geography too, Joseph piped up. I can name all the territories. And she knows stories, Jacob added. She told us about ancient Greece today. There were gods and heroes and everything. Clara laughed, charmed by their enthusiasm. Yes. Well, a proper education includes literature and history as well as practical skills. Though I think tomorrow we shall work on your penmanship, Jacob. Your letters look like chickens have been walking across your slate. The boy made a face, but he was grinning. Can we do more arithmetic instead? I like numbers. We shall do both. A well-rounded education requires balance. After the children were in bed, Clara and Samuel fell into the habit of sitting together with coffee, talking about the day. She told him about the children's progress, what supplies they needed, concerns she had. He told her about the ranch, the challenges of raising cattle in the harsh desert climate, his plans for the future. I want to build this place into something the kids can be proud of, he said one night, his voice passionate. Something they can inherit that will give them security. Mary is going to need a dowry when she is grown, and the boys will need land of their own. Even little Emmett, he deserves a future. That is very admirable, Clara said softly. Not every man would sacrifice his own life for his brother's children. It is not a sacrifice, they are family. He looked at her, his expression serious in the lamplight. Though I will admit it is easier now that you are here. I cannot imagine how we managed before. You were doing your best. That is all anyone can do. My best was not enough. They needed more, he paused, seeming to search for words. They needed a mother's touch. You have given them that. Clara's throat tightened. I am just their teacher. You are more than that, and you know it. The way Emmett follows you around, how Daisy saves you the first flowers she picks, how Mary actually smiles now. You have become essential to this family, Clara. The way he said her name, low and rough, made something flutter in her chest. She stood quickly, needing distance. It is late. I should retire. Clara, wait. He stood too, moving around the table. I did not mean to make you uncomfortable. I just wanted you to know how grateful I am, how much you mean to all of us. To the children, you mean. She kept her voice steady with effort. To all of us, he repeated, and the way he looked at her made it clear he meant something more. But Clara could not afford to let her heart rule her head. She was the teacher, the hired help. Samuel was her employer, the children's guardian. There were lines that should not be crossed, no matter how warm his eyes were or how her pulse raced when he stood close. Good night, Samuel. She fled to her room, closing the door behind her and leaning against it. Her heart was pounding, and she pressed her hands to her flushed cheeks. This was not supposed to happen. She was supposed to teach the children their letters, earn her salary, and eventually return to civilization. She was not supposed to fall in love with a rough cowboy who made her coffee just the way she liked it and looked at her like she had hung the moon. But her heart, it seemed, had other plans. Summer deepened into August, and the desert heat became oppressive. Clara learned to work in the early morning and late evening, keeping the children inside during the worst of the afternoon sun. She taught them to read in the shaded front room, their voices reciting lessons while cicadas droned outside. Samuel brought back supplies from town, including proper beds for the children, which made Clara absurdly happy. You did not have to spend money on that, she said, watching him and Pete wrestle the bed frames upstairs. Yes, I did. You were right, they need proper rest. He wiped sweat from his forehead, his shirt clinging to his back. Besides, I want them to have better than I did growing up. What was your childhood like? Clara handed him a glass of water, and their fingers brushed in the exchange. Hard. My pa was a tough man, believed in discipline more than affection. David was different, softer. He took the worst of pa's temper so I would not have to. Samuel drank deeply, his throat working. When Pa died, David inherited the ranch up in New Mexico. He sold it and moved down here for a fresh start. Asked me to come with him, and I did. Best decision I ever made. He sounds like he was a good man. The best. I just wish he had lived to see his children grow up, to see what you have done with them. He set down the empty glass, his hand covering hers on the table. They are thriving, Clara. I can see it every day. Mary is reading books now, real books. The twins are doing multiplication. Even little Emmett knows his alphabet. They are bright children. They just needed someone to guide them. She should pull her hand away, but she did not. His touch felt too good, too right. They needed you. His thumb traced circles on the back of her hand, and Clara's breath caught. We all did. Samuel. His name came out as barely a whisper. I know I should not say it. I know you are here for the children, that you probably have plans to return east eventually. But Clara, I cannot pretend anymore. You have turned this house into a home. You have given those kids hope and love and stability. And you have given me something I did not know I was missing. What is that? Her heart was thundering so loud she was sure he could hear it. A reason to come home at night, someone to talk to who understands, someone who makes everything better just by being here. He moved closer, his free hand coming up to cup her cheek. I know this is not what you signed up for. You came here to be a teacher, not to be courted by a rough cowboy with 5 kids and a struggling ranch. But I have to tell you how I feel, Clara. I am falling in love with you. The words hung in the air between them, precious and terrifying. Clara closed her eyes, leaning into his touch despite herself. This is complicated, I know. I am supposed to be the teacher. The children need stability, not upheaval. The children love you. They need you, not just as a teacher, but as part of this family. His voice was urgent now. Mary asked me the other day if you were going to be her mama. I did not know what to tell her. Clara's eyes flew open. She asked you that. She misses having a mother. They all do. And Clara, the way you care for them, it is not just duty. I see it in your eyes when you tuck Emmett in at night, when you help Daisy with her hair, when you praise the twins for their schoolwork. You love them. Of course I love them. The admission tore out of her. How could I not? They are wonderful, maddening, beautiful children, and yes, I love them with my whole heart. But Samuel, I am terrified. What if I am not enough? What if I fail them? You could never fail them. You have already given them more than they dared hope for. He leaned his forehead against hers, his breath warm on her face. But what about us, Clara? Is there any chance you could feel the same way I do? She should lie. She should protect her heart and his and maintain the proper distance between employer and employee. But Clara had never been good at lying, especially to herself. I already do, she whispered. I have been fighting it for weeks, but Samuel, I am in love with you, with all of you, the whole chaotic, wonderful family. The smile that broke across his face was like sunrise, brilliant and warm. Can I kiss you? I have been wanting to for so long. Yes. The word had barely left her lips before his mouth was on hers, gentle and seeking. It was Clara's first kiss, and it was perfect, everything she had dreamed a kiss could be. His hand slid into her hair while hers gripped his shoulders, and for a long, sweet moment, nothing existed except the two of them and this feeling, bright and fierce and absolutely right. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Samuel rested his forehead against hers again. Marry me, Clara. I know it is fast. I know we have only known each other a couple of months, but I do not want to waste time. Life is too short, and I do not want to spend another day without knowing you are mine. Clara started, then stopped. Marriage to Samuel. Becoming not just the teacher, but the children's mother, Samuel's wife. It was everything she wanted and everything that terrified her. What about my teaching? I am supposed to educate the children. You will keep teaching them. And when they are older, Maybe we can build a proper schoolhouse and you can teach other children in the area too. Clara, I am not asking you to give up who you are. I am asking you to share your life with us, to be part of our family for real, not just as the hired teacher. He pulled back slightly, his eyes searching hers. But if it is too soon, if you need time, I understand. I will wait as long as you need. Clara thought about the life she had left behind in Boston. The crowded boarding house, the strict school where she had taught prim girls who already knew their letters. The loneliness that had followed her everywhere, despite being surrounded by people. Then she thought about life here at the Double D Ranch. The children's laughter, the satisfaction of a good day's work, the peace she felt watching the sunset over the desert hills. The way her heart leaped every time Samuel walked through the door, the sense of belonging that had been missing her whole life. "Yes," she said, the word clear and sure. "Yes, I will marry you." The joy on Samuel's face was worth every risk, every fear. He kissed her again, deeper this time, his arms wrapping around her waist and pulling her close. Clara melted into him, marveling at how perfectly she fit against his broad chest, how right this felt. "Can we get married soon?" Samuel asked when they finally broke apart. "I do not want a long engagement. I want you to be my wife officially. We should tell the children first, make sure they understand what this means. They will be thrilled." "Mary has been hinting for weeks that I should marry you," Clara laughed, joy bubbling up inside her. "Has she now? That girl is too clever for her own good." They told the children the next morning after breakfast. Clara's hands were shaking as she stood beside Samuel in front of their small audience. Mary looked curious, the twins excited, Daisy confused, and Emmett was more interested in his toy horse than the adults. "Children, Miss Clara and I have something to tell you," Samuel began. "You know how much she has done for all of us these past months, how she has taken care of you and taught you and made our house a home. Are you leaving?" Mary's voice was sharp with sudden fear. "Are you going back east?" "No, sweetheart, just the opposite." Clara knelt down so she was at the children's level. "Your Uncle Samuel has asked me to marry him, and I have said yes. That means I will be staying here forever as part of your family." For a moment, there was silence. Then Mary launched herself at Clara, wrapping thin arms around her neck. "Forever, you promise? You are going to be our mama, if you will have me, yes." Clara held the girl tight, tears pricking her eyes. "I love all of you so much, and I would be honored to be your mother." "I told you Uncle Samuel should marry her," Mary said to the twins, who were grinning. "I told you." Daisy tugged on Clara's skirt. "Does this mean you will tuck me in every night, forever?" "Every single night, sweet girl." Even Emmett seemed to grasp that something important was happening. He climbed into Clara's lap, his toy horse forgotten, and patted her cheek with one chubby hand. "Mama," he said clearly, and Clara's heart shattered and reformed in that instant. "Yes, baby, I am going to be your mama." The wedding was held 2 weeks later in the small church in Castle Dome. Clara wore a dress she had sewn herself from blue calico, and Samuel wore his best suit, his hair slicked back and his boots polished. The children stood with them, Mary holding Clara's hand, the twins flanking Samuel, Daisy clutching a bouquet of desert wildflowers, and Emmett sitting on Pete's lap in the front pew. The preacher, a kind man named Reverend Matthews, performed the ceremony with his wife playing the small organ. There were a few other ranchers and townspeople in attendance, curious about the teacher who had tamed the wild Dalton children and captured their uncle's heart. But Clara only had eyes for Samuel, for the way he looked at her like she was precious beyond measure, for the strength in his hands as he slipped a simple gold band onto her finger. "I, Samuel James Dalton, take you, Clara Marie Henderson, to be my lawfully wedded wife. I promise to love you, honor you, and cherish you all the days of my life. I promise to be faithful and true, to support your dreams, and to build a life with you that honors God and serves our family. This I vow before these witnesses and before heaven itself." Clara's voice shook as she repeated her own vows, meaning every word. When the reverend pronounced them man and wife, Samuel's kiss was gentle and reverent, mindful of their audience but full of promise for what would come. The children cheered, and Emmett shouted, "Mama!" so loudly that the whole congregation laughed. They had a small celebration at the ranch, with food Clara had prepared the day before, and a cake that Mary had helped decorate. It was simple and perfect, exactly what Clara wanted. That night, after the children were in bed, Samuel carried Clara over the threshold of what was now their bedroom. He set her down gently, his hands framing her face. "Are you happy, Mrs. Dalton?" "Happier than I ever thought possible." She stood on her toes to kiss him. "Though I am terrified too." "What if I cannot be the mother they need? You already are. Clara, you have been their mother since the day you arrived and decided to stay despite everything. Today just made it official." He kissed her forehead, her cheeks, the tip of her nose. "And now you are my wife, which makes me the luckiest man in Arizona." What followed was tender and sweet, Samuel treating Clara like she was made of precious glass. He was patient with her innocence, gentle with her fears, and afterward, as they lay tangled together in the darkness, Clara felt a peace settle over her that she had never known. "I love you," she whispered against his chest. "I love you too. More than words can say." His arms tightened around her. "Thank you for choosing us, Clara, for choosing this life. I would choose it again every day." And she meant it with her whole heart. Life as Mrs. Samuel Dalton was different than Clara had expected, harder in some ways, better in others. She was now fully responsible for the household, for the children's care and education, for keeping the ranch house running smoothly. Samuel hired a woman from town, Mrs. Garcia, to come twice a week to help with the heavy cleaning and laundry, which gave Clara more time for teaching. The children thrived under the new arrangement. With Clara as their official mother, they relaxed in ways they had not before, secure in the knowledge that she was not going anywhere. Mary blossomed, her natural leadership qualities emerging as she helped Clara with the younger children. The twins became less wild, channeling their energy into learning and chores. Daisy came out of her shell, her artistic talents evident in every drawing she made. And Emmett, who had been so desperate for maternal love, attached himself to Clara with complete devotion. Samuel, too, seemed transformed by their marriage. He smiled more, laughed easier, and the lines of worry around his eyes gradually faded. He would come in from working the range to find Clara teaching the children, and he would stand in the doorway just watching, love clear on his face. At night, they would talk about everything and nothing, learning each other in the way newlyweds do, building a foundation of trust and intimacy that would carry them through harder times, because harder times did come. In September, a late summer storm hit the ranch with unexpected fury. The children huddled inside while rain lashed the windows and thunder shook the walls. Clara kept them occupied with stories and games, trying not to show her own fear. Samuel and the ranch hands were out securing the animals and checking on the cattle, and she worried about him with every crack of lightning. When he finally came in, soaked to the skin and exhausted, Clara had hot coffee and dry clothes ready. "We lost part of the barn roof," he told her, his voice heavy, "and some of the cattle scattered. It is going to take days to round them all up and assess the damage. Then we will deal with it together." Clara helped him out of his wet shirt, her hands gentle on his chilled skin. "You are not alone anymore, Samuel." He pulled her close, heedless of the water still dripping from his hair. I do not know what I would do without you. The storm damage set them back financially, eating into the small savings Samuel had built up, but Clara proved resourceful. She took in sewing from women in town, her neat stitches and fair prices earning her a steady stream of work. She also began selling eggs and butter, the extra money helping to cover repairs. Samuel protested at first, not wanting his wife to work like that, but Clara was firm. "We are partners," she told him. "That means we both contribute however we can. There is no shame in honest work, remember? I told the children that, and it applies to us too." He kissed her, slow and sweet. "How did I get so lucky to find you?" "I came on a stagecoach with a teaching contract." "You did not find me, I found you." But she was smiling as she said it, teasing him. As fall arrived and the weather cooled, Clara discovered she was pregnant. The realization came one morning when she was unable to keep her breakfast down, the smell of frying bacon turning her stomach. She sat on the edge of the bed, hand pressed to her abdomen, joy and terror warring inside her. A baby. She was going to have Samuel's baby. She told him that night after the children were asleep. He had been working on the account books, frowning over numbers, but he looked up when she came to stand beside him. "Samuel, I need to tell you something." Something in her voice made him push the books aside and give her his full attention. "What is it? Are you all right?" "I am fine." "Better than fine, actually." "I am." She paused, suddenly nervous. "I am going to have a baby. We are going to have a baby." For a heartbeat, he just stared at her. Then a grin split his face, joy transforming his features into something almost boyish. "A baby, Clara, are you sure?" "As sure as I can be. I have been sick in the mornings and I am late and," she laughed shakily, "I just know." "Samuel, we are going to have a baby." He stood and swept her into his arms, spinning her around the kitchen. "A baby, we are going to have a baby." He set her down carefully, his hands immediately going to her still flat stomach. "How are you feeling? Are you well? You need to see the doctor." "I am fine. Women have been having babies since the beginning of time, Samuel. I am healthy and strong." But his concern warmed her, made her feel cherished and protected. "Still, we should have Doc Morrison come out, just to make sure everything is all right." His hand was still on her abdomen, his expression full of wonder. "A baby, our baby. Clara, you have made me the happiest man alive." They told the children a few days later. The reactions were mixed. Mary was thrilled at the prospect of a new baby to help care for. The twins were less interested, more concerned with whether they would still get to go hunting with Uncle Samuel. Daisy wanted to know if it would be a sister or brother, and Emmett, at 4, did not quite understand what it all meant. "There is going to be a baby in Mama's tummy," Mary explained to him with the authority of an older sister. "And in a few months, the baby will come out and we will have a new brother or sister." "Can I still sit on Mama's lap?" Emmett asked, his lower lip trembling. Clara pulled him close. "Of course, sweet boy, you will always be my baby too, all of you. Having another child does not mean I love any of you less. My heart is big enough for all my children." As her pregnancy progressed, Clara found herself having to adjust her routine. The morning sickness passed after a few weeks, but she tired more easily. Samuel insisted she rest in the afternoons, and Mary proved invaluable in helping with the younger children and the household tasks. Clara continued teaching, though she sometimes conducted lessons from the rocking chair with her feet propped up. Winter came to the Arizona desert, not the bitter cold of the East but a gentler season, cool nights and mild days. Clara spent the short, dark evenings sewing baby clothes and preparing the small room off their bedroom as a nursery. Samuel built a cradle with his own hands, working on it in the barn and presenting it to her with shy pride. It was beautiful, made of smooth pine and carved with delicate flowers. "Samuel, it is perfect." Clara ran her hands over the polished wood, tears in her eyes. "Our baby is so lucky to have you as a father. I just hope I can be half as good a father as David was." He placed his hand over hers on the cradle. "And I know you will be an amazing mother. You already are." Christmas came, and Clara made it special for the children. She baked cookies and taught them carols, decorated the house with pine boughs Samuel cut from the mountains. On Christmas morning, there were simple gifts for everyone. New books for Mary, pocket knives for the twins, hair ribbons for Daisy, a carved horse for Emmett. Samuel gave Clara a beautiful shawl he had bought in town, the soft wool dyed a deep blue that matched her eyes. "It is beautiful," she breathed, wrapping it around her shoulders. "But Samuel, you did not need to spend money on me. I wanted to. You deserve beautiful things, Clara." He pulled her close, mindful of her growing belly. "You have given me everything. Let me give you something back." Her gift to him was a new shirt she had sewn, the stitches tiny and perfect, made from fabric she had saved for weeks to buy. He wore it immediately, and the look on his face told her it was the best gift he had ever received. As January 1877 arrived and Clara's belly swelled with their child, she felt a contentment she had never known possible. The children were thriving, reading and writing and learning arithmetic. Mary could now read books meant for children twice her age. The twins were working with fractions. Daisy was writing simple stories to go with her drawings. Even little Emmett could recognize all his letters and count to 20. The ranch was doing better too. Samuel's hard work was paying off, the cattle multiplying, buyers coming from as far as Tucson to purchase his stock. He hired another ranch hand, a young man named Tommy who was good with horses and grateful for the work. The repairs from the storm damage were complete, and Samuel was even talking about expanding the barn in the spring. But as winter deepened and Clara's due date approached, fear began to creep in. She remembered what Samuel had told her about Sarah, about how she had died bringing Emmett into the world. What if the same thing happened to her? What if she died and left Samuel alone with 6 children? What if she never got to meet this baby she already loved with her whole heart? Samuel found her crying one night, her hands pressed to her belly where the baby was kicking. "Clara, what is wrong? Is it the baby? Should I get Doc Morrison?" "No, I am fine. The baby is fine." She wiped at her tears, but they kept coming. "I am just scared, Samuel. What if something goes wrong? What if I die like Sarah did?" He sat beside her on the bed, pulling her into his arms. "You are not going to die. Doc Morrison says you are healthy and strong, that everything looks good. Clara, you cannot think like that. But Sarah was healthy too, was she not? And she still died." Her voice broke on the words. "I cannot leave you, Samuel. I cannot leave the children. They have lost so many people already. You are not going to leave us. I won't let you." His voice was fierce, his arms tight around her. "Clara, you are the strongest woman I know. You tamed 5 wild children and turned this house into a home. You survived your first Arizona summer and made it through a desert storm without flinching. You are going to survive this too, and in a few weeks, we are going to have a beautiful baby, and our family will be even more complete. You cannot promise that. No, but I can have faith. Faith in you, faith in Doc Morrison, faith in God, and Clara, I need you to have faith too. These children need their mother, I need my wife, and this baby needs you to be strong." He pressed his lips to her forehead. "Can you do that for us? Can you be strong?" Clara took a shaky breath, feeling the baby move beneath her hands. "Yes, I can be strong. That is my girl." He held her until her tears stopped, until her breathing evened out, and then he helped her into bed and held her all night, one hand on her belly where their child grew. The baby came in late February during a gentle rain that was rare for the desert. Clara's labor started in the early morning, waking her with a sharp pain that took her breath away. Samuel sent Tommy racing to town for Doc Morrison and Mrs. Garcia, while he stayed with Clara, holding her hand and trying not to let his fear show. The children were sent to stay with Pete and his wife in the foreman's cottage, though Mary insisted on staying close to the house. "She is my mama, too," the girl said fiercely. "I want to be here when the baby comes." Doc Morrison arrived and took charge, his calm competence reassuring. Mrs. Garcia helped Clara change into a nightgown and got her settled in bed. The labor was long and hard, hours passing in waves of pain that seemed endless. Samuel stayed with her the whole time despite Doc Morrison's suggestion that he wait outside. "I am not leaving her," Samuel said, his jaw set. "She is my wife, and she needs me." Clara gripped his hand so hard she thought she might break his fingers, but he never complained, never flinched. He whispered words of encouragement, wiped her face with cool cloths, told her how brave she was, how strong, how much he loved her. Finally, as the rain stopped and evening light slanted through the windows, their baby entered the world with a strong, healthy cry. "It is a girl," Doc Morrison announced, placing the squalling infant on Clara's chest. "A beautiful, perfect baby girl." Clara stared down at her daughter through exhausted tears, hardly believing this tiny, perfect creature was real. She had a dusting of dark hair and her father's nose, and when she opened her eyes, they were the deep blue of all newborns. "Hello, sweetheart," Clara whispered. "We have been waiting for you." Samuel looked like he might cry, his face a mixture of joy and relief and overwhelming love. "She is perfect. Clara, you did it. You are both perfect." "What will you name her?" Doc Morrison asked, cleaning up his instruments. Clara looked at Samuel and they spoke together the name they had chosen weeks ago. "Sarah, for the mother who came before me and to honor her memory." Samuel's eyes filled with tears then, and he bent to kiss Clara's forehead, then the baby's soft head. "Sarah, it is perfect." Mary was allowed in to meet her new sister, her face glowing with wonder as she gently touched the baby's tiny hand. "She is so small." "Can I hold her?" Clara showed her how to support the baby's head, and Mary sat very still, cradling her new sister with careful reverence. "Hello, Sarah. I am your big sister Mary, and I am going to teach you everything I know. Miss Clara, I mean. Mama taught me to read and write, and I will teach you too when you are bigger." The other children were brought in one by one to meet the newest member of the family. The twins were cautiously interested, Daisy was delighted, and Emmett seemed a bit confused about the whole thing. "That is a very small baby," he observed. "You were this small once too," Clara told him, reaching out to stroke his hair. "And you are still my special boy, Emmett, always." As the days passed and Clara recovered her strength, she marveled at the changes in their household. Having a newborn was exhausting, the constant feedings and diaper changes and sleepless nights. But Samuel was an attentive father, rising with her in the night to change Sarah's diaper, or just to sit with Clara while she nursed. Mary was an enormous help, entertaining the younger children when Clara needed to rest, helping with meals and cleaning without being asked. "You are going to make an excellent mother someday," Clara told her one afternoon, watching the girl rock Sarah with practiced ease. Mary looked up, her expression thoughtful. "I want to be like you, Mama. You made us into a real family again. Before you came, I thought we would always be sad and broken, but you fixed us." "Oh, sweetheart, I did not fix anything. You were never broken, just hurting. All I did was love you, and the rest came naturally." Clara pulled the girl close with one arm, kissing the top of her head. "You are an amazing young lady, Mary Dalton. Do not ever forget that." Spring came to the desert in a riot of wildflowers, and Clara felt herself blooming alongside them. Baby Sarah was a good baby, sleeping for longer stretches and blessing them with her first smile in late March. The children adored her, fighting over who got to hold her or make her laugh. Even the twins, who had been skeptical about a baby, melted when Sarah wrapped her tiny hand around their fingers. Samuel was a devoted father, spending every moment he could with his youngest daughter. Clara would find him in the nursery at odd hours, just watching Sarah sleep, his face soft with wonder. "I never thought I would have this," he told Clara one night. "My own child, a real family. David and Sarah gave me the gift of those 5 beautiful kids, but you, Clara, you have given me everything. You have given me everything, too. A home, a family, children to love, a purpose beyond just teaching letters. Samuel, I never knew I could be this happy." He kissed her then, slow and deep, and Clara felt desire kindle inside her for the first time since Sarah's birth. Doc Morrison had said she needed to wait 6 weeks before resuming marital relations, and those 6 weeks were almost up. That night, after checking that Sarah was sound asleep in her cradle and the older children were settled, they came together with a passion that had been building for weeks, rediscovering each other with joy and reverence. Afterward, lying tangled together in the darkness, Samuel traced lazy patterns on Clara's shoulder. "I have been thinking," he said, "about building that schoolhouse. There are other families in the area, kids who need education just like ours did. What would you think about teaching them too?" Clara considered this. "I would love to teach other children, but I would need help with the household and with Sarah. I could not manage both alone. Mrs. Garcia has said she would be happy to work more hours, and Mary is old enough to help more with the little ones. We could make it work, Clara, if you wanted to. You have such a gift for teaching. It seems a shame to limit it to just our family." The idea took root in Clara's mind, growing stronger over the following days. She mentioned it to Mary, who was enthusiastic about the prospect of other children to play with and learn alongside. When they brought it up at supper one night, even the twins seemed interested. "Would we still be the best students?" Jacob asked. "You would have to work to maintain that position," Clara said, her eyes twinkling. "Competition can be healthy, as long as it is friendly competition." Samuel began planning the schoolhouse that summer, choosing a spot near the main road where other families could easily reach it. He recruited help from neighboring ranchers, and construction began in June. It was a simple building, just one large room with windows on 3 sides for light and ventilation, but it was solid and well made, built to last. Clara watched the schoolhouse rise from the desert floor with a mixture of pride and nervousness. This was a new chapter for all of them, expanding their family's influence beyond the ranch. She spent weeks preparing curriculum, gathering books and supplies, spreading word through the community that school would start in September. To her surprise and delight, 10 children enrolled in addition to the 5 Dalton children. They ranged in age from 6 to 13, children of ranchers and miners and shopkeepers, all hungry for education. On the first day of school, Clara stood at the front of her new classroom, looking at the eager faces before her, and felt a deep sense of purpose. "Good morning, students. My name is Mrs. Dalton, and I am delighted to welcome you to Castle Dome School. We are going to learn together this year, not just reading and writing and arithmetic, but also history and geography, science and art. Education is a gift, and I intend to give you the best education I possibly can." The children proved enthusiastic learners, and Clara loved the challenge of teaching multiple ages and skill levels simultaneously. Mary helped with the younger children, revealing a natural talent for teaching that made Clara's heart swell with pride. The twins excelled in mathematics and began helping other students with their numbers. Even Emmett, now 5 and officially a student, took his lessons seriously, proud to be learning alongside the bigger children. Samuel would often stop by the schoolhouse on his way back from the range, sitting in the back and watching Clara teach with a look of pure love on his face. During recess, he would play with the children, teaching them to rope fence posts or helping them build things from scrap wood. He became a fixture at the school and the students adored him. "You are good with them," Clara told him one afternoon after school had let out. Little Sarah was napping in a basket beside Clara's desk while she graded papers. "I like kids. They are honest, and they see the world with fresh eyes." He picked up Sarah, who had started to fuss, settling her against his shoulder with practiced ease. "Besides, I like watching you teach. You light up when you are explaining something, did you know that? Your whole face just glows. Flattery will get you everywhere, Mr. Dalton." But Clara was smiling, warmth blooming in her chest. That evening, as they walked home together with the children running ahead and Sarah sleeping in Clara's arms, Samuel reached for her hand. "I am proud of you, you know. What you have built here, the school, the way you have influenced this community. You came to Castle Dome to teach 5 wild orphans their letters, and now you are shaping the future of this whole region. I could not have done it without you. You built the schoolhouse, you support my teaching, you help with the children and the household. Samuel, we are partners in this, in all of it. Partners." He squeezed her hand. "I like the sound of that." As 1877 turned into 1878, the Dalton family continued to flourish. The ranch was profitable now, the cattle business booming as the territory grew. Samuel hired more hands, expanding their operations. Clara's school gained a reputation for excellence, families moving to the area specifically so their children could attend. Mary, now 12, had become an accomplished young lady, helping Clara teach and caring for Sarah with the devotion of a second mother. The twins were 11 now, growing tall and strong, working the ranch alongside Samuel whenever they were not in school. They had developed a passion for breeding horses, and Samuel had given them a small section of land to pursue their dream. Daisy, at 9, was creating beautiful artwork that Clara displayed proudly in the schoolhouse. And Emmett, at 6, was reading at a level far beyond his years, his bright mind absorbing everything Clara taught. Baby Sarah was walking now, toddling around the house and the schoolyard, bringing joy wherever she went. She had Samuel's dark hair and Clara's blue eyes, and a sunny disposition that charmed everyone she met. The older children doted on her, and she ruled the household with the absolute authority only a beloved youngest child could command. In the spring of 1878, Clara discovered she was pregnant again. This time, the news brought only joy, no fear. She knew what to expect now, knew she could survive childbirth and come out the other side. Samuel was thrilled, hoping for a son but declaring he would be equally happy with another daughter. "I am outnumbered by women in this house," he joked one evening at supper. "The twins and I are drowning in a sea of petticoats." "I wear trousers," Emmett pointed out seriously, and everyone laughed. This pregnancy was easier than the first, Clara's body knowing what to do. She continued teaching through the summer, though she let Mary take over more of the lessons as her belly grew. The children at school were excited about their teacher having a baby, and they showered Clara with gifts of drawings and carefully written notes. In October, during the brief window of perfect weather between summer heat and winter rains, Clara gave birth to a son. The labor was shorter this time, only 6 hours from start to finish, and when Doc Morrison placed the baby in her arms, Clara felt a rush of love so intense it took her breath away. "He is perfect," Samuel said, his voice choked with emotion. "Clara, we have a son." They named him David, for Samuel's brother, and the older children were entranced by their new baby brother. Mary held him with the confidence of experience. The twins regarded him with cautious interest. Daisy wanted to draw pictures of him constantly, and Emmett proclaimed him very small but okay. Sarah, not quite 2, was a bit jealous at first, but she quickly decided the baby was her personal doll and insisted on helping with everything. Life with 7 children was chaotic, but it was also full of laughter and love. Clara learned to manage the household with military efficiency, delegating tasks to the older children and accepting help graciously. Mrs. Garcia now worked 5 days a week, helping with the heavy cleaning and laundry, freeing Clara to focus on teaching and childcare. Samuel was a hands-on father, changing diapers and rocking babies with the same competence he showed roping cattle. He read bedtime stories, helped with homework, played games, and made sure each child knew they were loved and valued. Clara would sometimes catch him looking at their family with an expression of such wonder and gratitude that it made her heart ache. "What are you thinking?" she asked him one night after all the children were finally asleep. "About how different my life is from what I imagined. I thought I would always be a bachelor cowboy, living rough and dying young. But then David died, and I inherited 5 kids I did not know what to do with. And then you came on that stagecoach with your proper Boston accent and your determination, and you changed everything." He pulled her into his arms. "You saved us, Clara, all of us. You saved me too. I was so lonely in Boston, so lost. I did not even realize it until I came here and found all of you. This is where I was always meant to be." They kissed, slow and tender, a kiss that promised more to come once they had the energy for it. Parenting 7 children was exhausting, but it was the best kind of exhaustion, the kind that came from a life fully lived and deeply loved. The years flowed past like water. The children grew and changed, each developing their own personality and dreams. Mary, at 15, was already being courted by the son of a neighboring rancher, a polite young man named Daniel, who Samuel grudgingly admitted was acceptable. The twins were working the ranch full-time now, their horse breeding program successful beyond anyone's expectations. Daisy, at 12, was talking about becoming an artist, and Samuel had arranged for her to take lessons from a painter in Tucson. Emmett, at 9, was the most bookish of the children, always reading, always asking questions. Clara nurtured his intellectual curiosity, challenging him with advanced texts and encouraging his dreams of perhaps becoming a lawyer or teacher. Sarah, at 4, was a whirlwind of energy and mischief, keeping everyone on their toes. And baby David, now 2, was a happy, sturdy boy who followed his father everywhere, determined to be a cowboy like Uncle Samuel. The school continued to thrive, now educating 30 children from families all over the region. Clara had hired an assistant teacher, a young woman named Miss Emily Pritchard, who helped with the younger students. The schoolhouse had been expanded, adding a second room and a small library that was Samuel's gift to Clara on their 5th anniversary. In the spring of 1881, Clara discovered she was pregnant for a 3rd time. At 27, she felt more confident than ever in her body's ability to bring life into the world. Samuel was delighted, though he worried about her taking on too much with the school and their growing family. "I am fine," Clara assured him. "I am healthy and strong, and I have more help than I know what to do with. Besides, I love being pregnant. I love knowing there is a little life growing inside me, part of you and part of me. This baby came in December, a Christmas gift of sorts." Another daughter, born during a rare snowfall that dusted the desert with white. They named her Rose, for the hardy desert roses that bloomed against all odds in the harsh climate. She had Samuel's dark hair and a rosebud mouth, and her siblings fell instantly in love. "She is so tiny," Sarah breathed, touching the baby's hand with gentle fingers. "Can I help take care of her, Mama?" "Of course, sweet girl. You are going to be a wonderful big sister." With 8 children now, the ranch house was bursting at the seams. Samuel began planning an addition, more bedrooms and a larger kitchen. The ranch was prosperous enough to afford it, the cattle business booming and the twins' horse operation bringing in additional income. Construction began in the spring, and by summer, they had a substantially larger home. Clara walked through the new rooms with satisfaction, imagining how they would fill these spaces with life and love. The older girls would have their own room now. The twins had claimed the room overlooking the barn, and Emmett was thrilled to finally have his own space. The nursery was set up for Sarah, David, and baby Rose, though Clara suspected it would not be long before Sarah wanted to move in with her big sisters. Life settled into a new rhythm. Mary married Daniel in the summer of 1882, a beautiful wedding on the ranch with the whole community in attendance. Clara cried watching her oldest daughter, now 18, walk down the makeshift aisle on Samuel's arm. Mary had grown from a wild, hurting child into a confident, loving young woman, and Clara was so proud she thought her heart might burst. "You did that," Samuel whispered to her during the reception. "You turned her into the woman she is today." "We did that," Clara corrected. "You, me, and all the love in this family. Mary saved herself, Samuel. We just gave her the tools and the support." The twins were 17 now, young men who ran their horse operation with impressive business acumen. They had earned enough to buy their own land adjacent to the ranch, and Samuel was helping them build a house and proper stables. Daisy, at 15, was an accomplished artist whose paintings sold in galleries as far away as Tucson and Phoenix. Emmett, at 12, was preparing to test for early admission to the university, his brilliant mind ready for greater challenges. And the little ones, Sarah at 7, David at 5, and Rose at 2, were the joy of the household. They kept everyone young with their laughter and questions and endless energy. Clara sometimes looked at her family, gathered around the expanded dinner table, and marveled at how her life had turned out. She had come to Castle Dome as a lonely young teacher with nothing but a carpetbag and a contract. She had expected to teach letters and numbers to a few ranch children and then move on to the next position. Instead, she had found her calling, her purpose, her family. She had watched 5 broken, hurting children heal and thrive. She had fallen in love with a cowboy who had become her partner in every way. She had borne 3 children of her own and helped raise 5 more, and she loved them all with equal fierce devotion. The school continued to grow, now educating over 50 children with 3 teachers. Clara served as the headmistress, managing the curriculum and teachers while still teaching the advanced students herself. Her reputation as an educator had spread throughout the territory, and families moved to Castle Dome specifically for access to her school. Samuel had become one of the most successful ranchers in southern Arizona, his cattle and the twins' horses in high demand. But he never forgot where he came from or what really mattered. He donated money to expand the school, helped families in need, and served on the town council. More importantly, he was present for his family, making time every day to connect with each child, to support Clara's work, to nurture their marriage. "We have built a good life," he told Clara on their 10th anniversary in 1886. They were sitting on the porch watching the sunset, the sounds of children playing drifting from the house. "Better than I ever dreamed possible." "We have," Clara agreed, leaning into his warmth. "And it all started because I came to teach the ranch children their letters, and you watched me become their mother." Best thing that ever happened to me, that stagecoach pulling up with you in it. He kissed her temple. I love you, Clara Dalton. Today, tomorrow, and for all the days of our lives. I love you too, Samuel, with everything I am. As the sun set over the desert, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, Clara reflected on the journey that had brought them here. She thought about the scared young woman who had stepped off a stagecoach into blazing heat and uncertainty. She thought about the 5 wild, hurting children who had needed so desperately to be loved. She thought about the cowboy with sage-green eyes who had been drowning under the weight of responsibility until she helped him learn to swim. They had built something beautiful together, something lasting. A family forged not just by blood but by choice, by commitment, by love that persisted through challenges and hardships. 8 children who were thriving, a community that had been enriched by their efforts, a marriage that grew stronger with each passing year. The older children were launching into their own lives now, but they stayed close, drawn back to the ranch by the love and security they had found there. Mary and Daniel lived just a few miles away, and Mary was pregnant with Clara's first grandchild. The twins were successful businessmen, but still showed up for family dinners every Sunday. And the younger children were growing up surrounded by love and opportunity, their futures bright with possibility. In the years that followed, Clara and Samuel watched their family expand further. Grandchildren arrived, filling the house with new laughter and chaos. Mary had 4 children. The twins eventually married and started families of their own. Daisy married an artist she met in Tucson. And even Emmett, after graduating from university and becoming a lawyer, returned to Castle Dome to practice and found love with the new schoolteacher Samuel and Clara had hired to replace Clara when she finally retired from daily teaching. Sarah, David, and Rose grew into fine young adults, each finding their own path but staying connected to the family that had shaped them. The ranch continued to prosper under Samuel's careful management, eventually being split between the twins and David, who had inherited his uncle's love of the land and livestock. Clara continued to influence education in the territory, writing curriculum and training new teachers, her legacy extending far beyond the schoolhouse in Castle Dome. She published articles on education reform and was invited to speak at conferences in Tucson and even San Francisco. But she always came home to Samuel, to their family, to the life they had built together in the desert. As they grew older, their love only deepened. Samuel's hair went silver, and Clara's face lined with age. But when they looked at each other, they still saw the young people who had fallen in love over coffee and conversation, over shared responsibility for 5 needy children, over the gradual realization that they were meant to be together. On their 25th anniversary in 1901, their children threw them a celebration at the ranch. All 8 children were there with their spouses and children. Over 30 people gathered to honor the couple who had created this remarkable family. There were speeches and laughter, stories told and memories shared. Clara stood with Samuel's arm around her waist, looking at the sea of beloved faces, and felt a peace so complete it brought tears to her eyes. "Thank you," Mary said, standing to give a speech. She was 35 now, a mother of 4, confident and strong. "Mama Clara, Uncle Samuel, thank you for saving us. We were lost and broken, and you put us back together. You gave us a home, an education, a future. You taught us how to love and be loved. Everything good in our lives comes from what you built in this family." The twins stood next, speaking in tandem as they had since childhood. "You taught us about hard work and integrity, about following our dreams but staying true to our roots. The success we have had is because you believed in us when we were just wild boys who did not know our letters." Daisy spoke of encouragement and support, of being allowed to pursue art when most families would have insisted she focus on more practical concerns. Emmett, the lawyer, gave an eloquent speech about the value of education and how Clara's teaching had opened up the world for him. And the younger children, now adults themselves, spoke of growing up in a house filled with love and laughter, of having parents who showed them every day what real partnership looked like. When it was Samuel's turn to speak, he stood and pulled Clara close. "When my brother died and left me with 5 children, I thought my life was over. I did not know anything about raising kids, especially little ones. I was failing badly when a stagecoach brought Clara Henderson to our door. She was supposed to teach the children their letters, nothing more. But she looked at those wild, hurting kids and decided to stay. She decided to love them, to become the mother they needed. And somewhere along the way, she decided to love me too, and that made all the difference." He turned to Clara, his eyes shining with tears. "You are the best thing that ever happened to me. You made me a better man, a real father, a true partner. You built this family with your love and dedication and stubborn refusal to give up on any of us. I love you, Clara Dalton, more today than the day I married you, and that is saying something." Clara could not speak past the lump in her throat, so she just pulled him down for a kiss, not caring that all their children and grandchildren were watching. When they broke apart, the whole room was cheering, and Clara was laughing and crying at the same time. Later, when the party had wound down and the children had taken the grandchildren home to bed, Clara and Samuel sat together on the porch, just as they had done thousands of times before. The stars were brilliant overhead, the desert night cool and peaceful. "You ever regret it?" Samuel asked softly. "Giving up your life in Boston, taking on 5 wild children, marrying a cowboy instead of some proper gentleman," Clara laughed. "Not for a single second. Samuel, that life in Boston was not really living. I was just existing, going through the motions. But here, with you, with our children, I have been truly alive. Every challenge, every struggle, every moment of joy, it has all been worth it. You made me believe in love again," he said, threading his fingers through hers. "After David and Sarah died, I thought maybe love was not worth the risk of losing it. But then you came and you showed me that love is always worth it, even when it is hard, even when it hurts sometimes. Love is what makes life meaningful." "Yes," Clara agreed softly. "Love is everything." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars wheel overhead, listening to the familiar sounds of the desert night. The ranch was quiet now, all the guests gone, just the two of them in the peaceful darkness. But inside the house, the evidence of their life together was everywhere. Photographs on the walls, books on the shelves, the marks on the door frame tracking children's growth over the years. The cradle Samuel had built for Sarah, now used for grandchildren. The table where they had shared thousands of meals. The rooms where children had learned and laughed and grown. This was their legacy, not just the successful ranch or the thriving school, but the family they had built together. 8 children raised with love and care, who had gone on to build good lives of their own. Grandchildren who would carry their values forward into the next generation. A community enriched by their efforts and dedication. Clara leaned her head on Samuel's shoulder, feeling the steady beat of his heart. "We did well, didn't we? We did better than well. We created something beautiful." He kissed the top of her head. "Thank you, Clara, for saying yes to the children, yes to me, yes to this life. Thank you for every moment. Thank you for giving me a reason to stay, for showing me what family really means. Thank you for loving me, Samuel Dalton." As the night deepened and the desert cooled around them, they remained on the porch, 2 people who had found each other against all odds and built a life more wonderful than either had imagined possible. Clara thought back to that day in 1876 when she had stepped off the stagecoach into blazing heat and uncertainty, and she smiled. She had come to teach the ranch children their letters, but she had found so much more. She had found her purpose. She had found her family. She had found her home. And she had found a love that would sustain her through all the days of her life. A love that had transformed a lonely teacher and a struggling cowboy into partners who built something lasting and beautiful together. The stars continued their ancient dance overhead, and in the distance, a coyote called to its mate. Inside the house, the clock on the mantel ticked steadily, marking the passage of time. But out on the porch, Samuel and Clara sat together, wrapped in each other's arms, grateful for every moment that had led them to this place, to this life, to each other. And in that moment, beneath the vast Arizona sky, with a lifetime of memories behind them and whatever future remained ahead, they were completely content. They had built a family out of love and dedication, had turned a broken group of orphans into thriving adults, had created a legacy that would endure long after they were gone. Clara had come to teach the ranch children their letters, and Samuel had watched her become their mother. But in the process, they had become so much more to each other. Partners, lovers, friends, the foundation upon which an entire family was built. And it had all started with a stagecoach, a contract, 5 wild children, and 2 people brave enough to open their hearts to love. As they finally rose and went inside, ready for bed after the long celebration, Clara took one last look at the desert night. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new joys, new moments to treasure. But tonight she was simply grateful for this man beside her, for the family they had built, for the life they had lived together. She had come west expecting to teach letters and numbers, nothing more. Instead, she had learned the most important lesson of all. That love, real love, the kind that persists through hardship and grows stronger with time, was the greatest gift life could offer. And she had been blessed to find it in the most unexpected place, with a cowboy who had needed her as much as she had needed him. Their story was not one of grand adventure or dramatic events. It was a story of everyday moments strung together like pearls on a strand. Shared meals and bedtime stories, lessons taught and children raised, challenges overcome and dreams pursued. It was a story of commitment and partnership, of 2 people choosing each other every single day and building a life brick by brick, moment by moment. And it was a story with a happy ending, not because their life was perfect, but because they faced imperfections together, with love and determination and unwavering faith in each other. They had built something that would endure, a family legacy of love and learning, strength and compassion. As Clara climbed into bed beside Samuel, feeling his arms wrap around her in the darkness, she whispered one last prayer of gratitude. For this man, for these children, for this life. For the stagecoach that had brought her here, for the courage to stay, for the love that had bloomed in the desert and grown stronger with each passing year. She had come to teach the ranch children their letters, and in doing so, she had found everything she had been searching for without even knowing she was searching. She had found home, family, purpose, and a love that would last all the days of her life and beyond. And that, Clara thought as sleep claimed her, was the very best kind of happy ending,